Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hello, Soror. I am doing wonderfully. Just sending out some condolences right now. So
Girl, send
far.
out the condolences, bless their hearts, get the people they love, because once again, the Cowboys have come to disappoint them. I know I live with a Cowboys fan, so I don't take this lightly. So, to all of you Dallas Cowboys fans who grew up watching in the 70s when they were considered America's team, peace and blessings to you.
Yes.
How about
Yes.
that? For
With
those
true sincerity. True sincerity.
for those long suffering New Orleans Saints fans, since we are natives of Louisiana, y'all know they ain't been right for a second now. Okay,
Yes. Super Bowl win was a long time ago at this point.
it's been over a decade now, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Them decades start going quickly as we mature, don't they?
They do. They do.
So I don't know. Oh, so I guess we should say congratulations to those Tampa Bay fans. I think they pulled it off today.
Yes.
Um,
I think I know one or two of those. Yes. Hmm.
yes. So hey, if you still rocking with the NFL, God bless. Y'all know I ain't been rocking with them because I'm like silly on it. Until y'all do right, everything you do gonna crumble. So until y'all got them y'all and horrible quarterbacks out there, and y'all got Colin Kaepernick still sitting at home. Somebody could at least gave him a third string job on the sideline. I know that for sure. But
True that. Shout out to Byron. He is a 49ers fan. Yes. Clearly, since the 49ers beat the Rams, dashed the Saints' hopes of even going to the playoffs.
playoffs.
Let's not get crazy. Playoffs. Uh, I guess the 49ers are the team to beat, or Tampa Bay is the team to beat. I don't know.
I don't know, y'all, but I'm gonna tell y'all what you are tuned in now live to Hey Sister, and what we want you to do is make sure that you like, follow, share, subscribe, tell folks about Hey Sister, post about it, share it, let them know what we're doing, what we're talking about over here. Join the conversation in the comments. That's where all the fun and the action happens in the comments. And so tonight we don't have a special guest. It's just going to be us. So we hope you satisfied with just us. We happy with just us. What about you, sister? But y'all see, look, we love our guests. Our guests have been adding some fire. So if you haven't seen the previous couple weeks episode, go back and watch them. They're very, very, very worth the watch. And have a pen and pad handy so you could jot you down some notes. Because honey, they were dropping some gems. Like you said, if you missed it, you want to go back and pick some of those gems up because they will last you a lifetime, honey. They better than diamonds. That's what I think.
Agreed. I am still processing and repeating the words of Dr. Alana from last week. Even before the holidays, when we had Alejandro on and just talking about doing that work. Girl, I need everybody to do that work. Do that work. Put in that work.
Work. The
For
work that
yourself.
starts right here.
Exactly. Put in that work. Put in that
Put
work.
in that work, honey. That work, and that's the thing, sister. That work is not for the faint of heart. And I think that, one of the things that Alejandro did say, and I still go back to it, reality is an acquired taste. Some folks don't want to be in reality because that's where real work begins. When you have to face and confront and deal with your own stuff, the stuff that you created, the stuff that you put down. And it's so very interesting because that was one of the scriptures in our Sunday school lesson this morning, right? Because sometimes the tribulation comes from your own self.
Yeah.
So be careful about what you're doing out here in these streets. So we're gonna start with a couple of hot topics. First, we want to talk about Founders Day. So you see, we both have on our Alpha Kappa Alpha gear. I'm representing the, y'all see that ET, the Epsilon Tau chapter that has been setting the standard since 1970. That's the undergraduate chapter at Xavier University of Louisiana, where I was initiated. And so, shout out to all my Epsilon Tau sorors out there and all the sorors and all the chapters I've been in. I was thinking about it today. I've been in 5 chapters, I think, over my lifetime, starting
Wow.
with my undergraduate chapter at Xavier, then on to Alpha Beta Omega in New Orleans, then on to Beta Psi Omega in Austin, Texas, Phi Phi Omega, then Psi Theta Omega. I think that's kind of the journey of the chapters that I've been in. So, but I'm a proud life member today. Hello. Boo boo.
Well, and since you are shouting out Epsilon Tau, I just so happen to have these earrings that say Beta Psi. Yes. Uh-huh. Mhm. Shout out to the Beta Psi chapter at the Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I was made this year, 25 years ago, actually on March 23rd, 1997. Thank you very much. Very excited to be in what we call my silver year. So I think, and like you, I started off at Beta Psi. I went to Tau Omega chapter in Santa Monica, California, and I am now in Alpha Alpha Iota Omega chapter where I am a charter member. And I think the lesson of it all is, like you said, happy Founders Day to all women who serve Alpha Kappa Alpha. But the lesson of it all is that we've always remained active. And when I wasn't in a chapter, I was a general member. And so we've always remained active because this is a commitment that we made for life. And we ain't just letter wearers. We are doers and workers. So again, you got to do that work. Got
You
to put in
got
that work.
There you go again talking about that work. And when I talk to some people, they talk about they tired. I be like, what? You tired? Boo, you just started. Let me tell you something. Come to me in 25 years of uninterrupted service. Okay, you ain't got time to be tired. Thank you, cousin, for the
Thank you, cousin.
congratulations. Hey, Sarah Joe, I ain't gonna try y'all because I've been talking and having a good time today. So my voice the vocal cords might not be right, so I ain't gonna mess it up. But I really enjoyed the fellowship with my sisters this weekend. I did a couple of small gatherings, and it really did the soul good to connect with people who I haven't seen for quite some time. That's one of the challenges in the pandemic for the past 2 years. Virtually everything's been virtual, right? So we had those few opportunities, few and far between, to connect face to face. And there is something special when your spirit is renewed when you connect with people face to face. And God bless the metaverse, but I will say that the human connection, there is nothing more powerful and more palpable than human connection and human touch. It does something for us emotionally, it does something for us spiritually, and I don't want us to get away from that. So,
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if I'm going to say God bless the metaverse. I will say go buy you some real estate on the metaverse because at least
girl,
that's
we gotta get on.
got
Mm.
to buy you some land in the metaverse because you're going to need a house in the metaverse. And obviously, so these are real things. I'm not even playing around. You have to buy you some real estate there in the metaverse. But for all those who are going to be over in the metaverse, I'm going to let them be in the metaverse. To your point, I really do miss a lot of aspects of just human connection, connecting with sisters, connecting with like-minded individuals. We had a Zoom activity yesterday, and I was having a terrible headache. I had just finished my Southern alumni call, and then I jumped on that one, and I couldn't even fully participate because my head was hurting so much, and so phone was going low and everything. So I really didn't do too much in terms of celebrating Founders Day. But yeah, I missed that. It's great to send all the shout outs on social media and everything, but really, I really hope. And look, I won't even say get back to normal. Like I said before, I don't believe in going back to normal. I feel like we should be moving forward to better. But I certainly hope we get to a place where we are able to gather without people getting sick. Even if getting sick means a little bit of sick, I don't want to get a little bit of sick because there's a lot of folks who are okay with being a little bit of sick. No, I don't want to be a little bit of sick. I want to be healthy and happy
Well,
and whole.
speaking of Founders Day, let's just say, this week, obviously we're focusing on Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the first, foremost, and finest of the Black Greek letter organizations made for women. But we do have to acknowledge Delta Sigma Theta and Zeta Phi Beta all celebrating their Founders Day this week. So all to the Greek love, all to the Greek love.
Yes.
So another hot topic. Now, sister, I don't know if you got into this story.
Okay, hold on. I probably didn't. What?
Girl, did you hear the story about the hot sauce and the condom?
Okay, yes, I did hear that story.
So, if y'all haven't heard the story, I'm gonna drop a little article in the link for y'all to take a look at. And so I saw the tweet. I think it was Van Lathan did the tweet, and I was like, "What is this talking about?" I was like, I don't know about what's happening here." So a Instagram model is suing Drake because she decided to I guess do something from the like she saw on the TV show The Game, and she chose to retrieve a condom and tried to I guess do the turkey baster thing
I,
to
I don't
conceive.
even know that she had a turkey baster, but
I
continue.
don't know what happened, but nonetheless, she learned that there was hot sauce placed in the condom to kill the sperm because the dudes are hip now to chicks be trapping. Okay, the trap house is a whole nother thing when you're talking about that. But they've been trapping for a while, I guess. Sister, what you think
That
about this
was
story?
funny.
And if y'all saw this story, please comment and tell us what y'all think about this story. There's so many things I can comment on. Like I can bullet it down, but I'm gonna
Oh,
let you go
yes,
first.
I have because I heard about this story and before even Van posted about it. I didn't realize until later that she was suing him, and that's why this is public. I thought it just, was something that was put out there in the zeitgeist, and we had to hear about it. So problems from the top. Yeah, folks are trapping. Their trapping season is still a thing. But I gotta look sideways at young men who ain't that young anymore, because I'm pretty sure he's well into his 30s. This is the artist known as Drake. Aubrey. What is his last name? Griffin or Griff
I
something?
don't know, child. I don't
Aubrey Drake. Graham. Aubrey Graham. Okay. So number one, I have I take issue. Grown people can do whatever grown people want to do. Don't get me wrong, but if you understand the possible ramifications enough to put hot sauce in the condom, maybe let's just start with not sleeping with people we met 2.5 seconds earlier, because I don't think this was a relationship. Clearly, it was not. But one of my friends made a good point because one of the articles stated how, obviously they got together, they were smoking marijuana, and he asked her repeatedly to ensure that she consented to the act that was going to take place. And there's something really very deceptive and wrong that, if he's trying to make sure you consent to the act, but then you go into the bathroom and virtually and steal his property, because at the end of the day, that is his DNA. It is his property. You you don't just you take it out of the garbage can, untie it, and then proceed to attempt to inseminate yourself, and then say it feels like hot lava in your lady parts. There's
If
just
you
so
ain't
much.
got no words, Jolene, we trying to find the words. Just
No, my
FYI.
words are it's sad all up and through and away, all around. That's my word. It's pitiful. I would say, brother, if you had enough wherewithal and common sense to put hot sauce in that condom, maybe next time just flush it down the toilet. How about we don't just put it? Let's not put our DNA in the. I mean, because at this point, I don't even like having my hair in my garbage can, because we don't know. People crazy out here in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So how about not put your DNA in the garbage can at all? Let's just put that in the toilet, right?
Well, it's funny you say that about the hair. My roommate in college would always flush her hair, like, from down the. But it was because of the old wives' tale. Like, if a bird got your hair,
Yeah.
the hair would fall out. So she
Yes.
never threw her hair in the trash can or anything like that. I didn't even think about it. But today, with modern science, people can do so many different things with your DNA, right? So it's like it is definitely a consideration I would not have thought about years ago.
And
But
I don't want you to necessarily flush your hair down the toilet either. That could be a lot of drainage issues and stuff too. But what I'm saying is, I mean, if you had enough sense to be like, let me pour some hot sauce into this, I'm just like, why he didn't just flush the condom down the toilet? And then that probably
or
would have
how
been like,
about just that might not be the person you need to sleep with if you got to go through these extra steps. How about
well,
that?
that too. And Instagram models, I know they're hard to resist, but let's try. Let's try.
They
Because
got to
you've already been through this situation. But at least he said, hey, fool me once, shame on me. You ain't gonna fool me a second time. What did George Bush say that time? George Bush was trying to
I
find
can't
that
remember
word.
how George Bush.
And second time, fool me the second time.
No, yeah. Ain't gonna fool me no more. That's what George Bush said. Ain't gonna fool me no more. Oh my goodness. Anyway, well,
But talk about a new definition of hot sauce in your bag swag.
child, talk about a whole new definition. Y'all are tuned in right now live to Hey Sister. We are talking about our hot topics this evening before we kind of dive into some more serious things for the day. Cardi B's libel trial. I don't know if you've heard about Cardi B's libel trial. Well, Cardi B is she testified this past week in her libel trial against one of the bloggers.
Okay.
I'm gonna drop the blogger Tasha K. So I don't know the blogger Tasha K.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who she is. Yeah.
So I've never followed her, so I don't really watch it, but I know that Cardi B testified. She talked about being suicidal, not wanting to have relationship or intimacy with her husband, how all of the things that were being said in the blogs and some of the things that were being reported about her, the impact that it had on her. And I thought that we've seen a lot of these videos and a lot of people who are in this entertainment, in the social media entertainment space. And sometimes it is cruel. It's just straight up cruel. Or, they have adjacency to people. And so then that gives them license, but to report on their what they're adjacent to. It's not much different, I guess, than Star or than a TMZ or what National Enquirer was or anything like that. So, but the internet has opened up, expanded the realm for this.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about this story, and do you think that it actually will alter some behavior based on the outcome? Outcome, there's no verdict yet, but based on the outcome, how do you think this is going to impact other people that get into this space, these bloggers and people reporting on people?
Well, I was trying to catch up and read a little bit of it. So they've had an ongoing dispute, and I did know that part because I
Mhm.
have watched some of Tasha K's broadcasts before, and it's like Unwind with Tasha K, and I've seen where she's made little comments here and there, but I never knew what the extent of it was. I mean, I think like TMZ, a lot of times where there's smoke, there is fire. And so they do report on things that obviously people have contacted them about, or or they have people on the scene who are there up to the minute to get the breaking news stories. It is tabloidish. It's just like what we used to see when, or sometimes still see when we go to the grocery stores and we see all of these headlines that are meant to be shocking and jarring. um, and I think it's just it's a fine line, and it's a difficult line, right? You and I, we sit here, we're talking about this situation. It's public information, so we have the right and the ability to talk about it. I do think you do have to remember though that these people are, just because they make a certain amount of money and do a certain thing for their job, they're still human beings. But it's, again, we have a certain amount of followers, and it's great for us. But if you want to get to the place where this is your daily job and you make a lot of money, you don't have to go to you're in your own employ, then that means you're going to have to talk about the salacious stuff. And I think that, respect to Funky Dineva, who has recently said, he's changing the way he does these things because it's no longer, I guess, good for his spirit and his soul. So I guess at the end of the day, as a blogger, do I think it's going to change much? No, because just like with Instagram models, right? There,
The
you would,
next crop is on the way.
huh?
I said the next crop is on the way.
Yeah, because if you've seen one, you would think you've seen them all. But at the end of the day, somebody is going to rise to the top because she's going to push the limits a little bit more. She's going to go a little bit further. She may sue for hot sauce in a condom. I don't know, but that they'll be put on a certain pedestal. They'll get certain, I mean, endorsement. Listen, Deion Sanders just had a young lady who, not just, but had a young lady come and speak to his team
Hmm.
who is an Instagram
Instagram
model.
model.
And so
Just to let them young boys know these girls be trapping out here.
let me not just say girls. Folks are trapping
Folks
because
are
there's
trapping.
some trapping men as well.
Yes.
So, but I say all that to just say, if you get to the point where this is your day job,
Hmm.
whether it's blogging, whether it's modeling on Instagram, whatever it is, you're going to have to continue to push the limits and become more and more salacious. And it is going to be at the unfortunate expense of other people. And so I would hope that folks would think about how the things they do and say impact other people.
Hmm.
But I would hope they would. But I mean, I'm not naive. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure Tasha K in her mind feels like I'm just reporting on what the people said.
Right.
I'm just telling the people what the people said.
Right. Well, it's interesting because she had filed a lawsuit against Cardi B, and that lawsuit was dismissed, but Cardi
Right.
B's lawsuit was not dismissed. So,
Right.
um, I would say this. One of the things you said, and you mentioned Funky Dineva, who also is kind of in that space as well, is you said that you have to kind of keep amping it up, and targeting people, be more salacious, and hurt at the expense of other people, but oftentimes is at your own expense,
Hmm.
because you know, you have to diminish, when you when your growth or your success is dependent upon tearing down other people, at some point that will come back to haunt you. It's going to break you down mentally, emotionally, and it's not sustainable. So don't even go down that road. We don't have to follow in that path or be in that path or in that space. um um oh, just reporting or trying and doing things in a way where we tear people down.
Right.
They already have a network for that called Fox, full
Well,
of.
they have multiple networks and multiple shows for that at this point. I mean, there are some shows. One of the things that Funky Dineva mentioned, um, I am going a little bit on a tangent, but I do watch Love and Marriage Huntsville,
Mm,
and in his recap of the reunion, they were talking about how one of the gentlemen who's on there, one of the husbands on there, said how he sent a scathing email when he found out that they changed the name because it was supposed to be about construction, right? They own this construction company. It was supposed to be a show about construction, and then it was like, psych, it's Love and Marriage Huntsville, and so he sent this scathing email. And so on the one hand, you gotta respect uh I think it was Mars. No, it wasn't Mars. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember the other brother's name. But anyway, you have to respect him for saying, "Look, I don't want to be a part of this of something that's foolish and this foolery. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want my family a part of that. I don't like this." But then at the same time, as Funky Dineva pointed out, yeah, Carlos King, the producer, did what he had to do to get it on OWN. And even though it's probably slightly off of OWN's original brand, it's the highest rated show that they have.
mm-hmm.
So it becomes a question about, we say one thing, we society, we say one thing, but then we
What
support.
do we support?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Well, we shall see. Well, that's the hot topics that we have for this evening. If y'all have a hot topic out there you want us to talk about, please drop it in the chat and we'll see. We've heard about it, read about it, and we'll definitely talk about it. But
Well, you did, and I'm not abreast of it, but you did mention something about the former White House resident, something else he's done. I mean, he always doing stuff, but if you want to talk through that.
so I did not put that in hot topics specifically not to talk about it because see, whether it's him or even the senator here from the state of Florida or any of the people who are in these positions of power and leadership or who peddle in lies and misinformation and disinformation campaigns, what they do, I'll just talk about the tactics. And this is why we have to be aware and learn it because you have to learn the tactics. And the tactic is I'm going to take a piece of something that's true. So we've seen them deploy this with critical race theory, for instance. I take a piece of something that is true and I'm going to conflate, I am going to misrepresent, I am going to take out of context this one thing that is true and wrap it around a narrative because I know that people are not going to read. I know that they're not going to be well informed. They're just going to take the headline and the top level and they're going to go with the spin. And so he's doing something similarly now as he talked about basically white people not being able to be get COVID-19 treatments in New York. So or they're talking about hospitals rationing care. Sarah Palin did that some years ago when she started talking about death panels, right? Healthcare providers and healthcare systems, they triage and they make decisions based on criteria. all the time. All the time. If you don't know the criteria, or if you don't know how decisions are made, and someone says, so they know that there's a criteria. So they say, oh, one of the elements of the criteria are the people who are disproportionately impacted should have a higher priority in receiving a treatment, right? Or the people who've had the worst outcome might have a higher priority in receiving a treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And they take that and say, oh, it's race based. So you take something, they pull out a thread of truth and wrap it around a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's misinformation, it's a lie, and people make decisions. They elect people on some of this misinformation and lies.
Mm-hmm.
They interact with their public and the community on misinformation and lies. They're in school board meetings and writing laws about parents and what parents need to be allowed to do in their child's education and make decisions about their child education. And the parent don't even go to a damn PTA meeting and ain't never been to a parent teacher conference and ain't been to an open house. But they want to be able to make decisions about curriculum because they've taken this thread and they wrap this whole story around it, the tactic, right? And put it out there in the clear and have people riled up and acting a fool. And what I want us to do in the year of our Lord 2022, which is a midterm election year, is do not fall victim and prey to the tactics. Learn, read, taking information from multiple sources, ask questions to a variety of people, make some wise choices and decisions. But when you see the tactics, know that there's a tactic of spin and don't fall for the spin because our livelihoods depend on it. Our livelihoods depend on it. And it is a shame that we are still 2 years into this global pandemic. Now, yes, it is a global pandemic, but for the wealthiest nation, the nation that led the way in even getting these vaccines to market, to have nearly 1 million people die, more than any other country in the world, is shameful. And it's because people take, I got this much knowledge and I'm going to wrap this story around it. I'm going to politicize this thing and I'm going to have people up in arms, and they are making decisions that are costing them their own lives, livelihood, overall health and well-being.
But what do we do? I mean, and I don't want to make light of it, but when people when people demonize someone like the Dr. Fauci, you saw Dr. Fauci testify to Congress, I guess this past week. I don't
and
even.
He had to go off on that
Ram call because it's like, yeah, you're making money off of people's demise. You're using me as a pawn in your little sick, twisted game. How do we overcome? Because you're talking about this thread that gets wrapped around. But like at some point, I don't know what to tell a person who thinks that somebody telling them to drink their own urine is a better solution than maybe some of these physicians, not all, but maybe some of these, virologists, people who have studied this for eons. Because is Dr. Fauci perfect? No. Is the CDC perfect? I know there's been lots of memes and jokes and clownation going on about the CDC, and they might deserve some of that. But I still say that ain't my lane. So why would I? But when has drinking your own urine ever sounded like a good idea? That's what I don't get. And I don't know how you get to, how do you change that? When,
When does
when does
taking
taking horse dewormer, I, I ain't never owned a horse, but it was questionable even when we was using mane and tail hair, hair shampoo, like, is our hair gonna grow like that of a horse tail? I don't think it will. But we was on it. We was on that mane and tail conditioner. I don't know when I don't know how to reach people. When you talk about researching for yourself, understanding for yourself, learning for yourself, how do you even begin to have those conversations if they can be easily distracted by dewormer, by a medicine that wasn't intended for this particular use, and urine.
yes, Rosalind drinking their own urine. That
That's
was
the
the thing.
latest. That's the
That's the
latest
latest.
idea in the year of our Lord 2022, when you have all of this Al Gore internet and all of this information out there. I like, again, drinking one's urine just seems to be the absolute last resort. I don't even understand.
Yeah, so yeah, there's someone who talked about drinking urine as a cure for COVID. Anyway, there is an article on that. I don't even want to post the article, but you could Google it and find it yourself. Um, yeah, I don't know how to exactly reach people yes, yes, you can get a free vaccine. Yes, they can. But they've chosen this because they don't want what's in the vaccine, or they don't want the government telling them what to take and what have you.
Well,
I know.
when some of them eat and drink, they shouldn't want what's in their urine either. I mean,
So there might be a medical reason, or like say you are trapped in the woods and you ran out of water and you've been you trying to live and survive, you might have to resort to drinking your urine so you're not fully dehydrated.
again, a last resort. A last resort.
Absolute last resort. I know that there are fecal transplants that are done in hospital settings for people who have like they're severely septic. They're like on their last, their body has no more defense. Like they do these things, but it's kind of like a controlled environment and it's done in a very specific way.
Also last resort.
It's definitely a treatment, and it has saved lives. But it's like when you at the end,
Yes.
trying to keep you from getting to the end.
Right.
When there's free vaccines, or even stay your behind in the house and wear your mask when you go outside, and wash your hands when they got all of that to do first. But so, how do you reach those people? I don't know. But I do know this, that it is time to go back to not doing your own research, because people say doing their own research, they just read somebody, or they just following someone who they already follow and listen to, and not really getting a breadth of information.
Right.
But it's time for a call for sanity. It's time for a call for education. It's time for a call for something, because this land of ridiculousness it's exhausting, child. It's exhausting.
Well, speaking of education, I don't know if you saw in the news about the Chicago school system and how there was this standoff between the teachers and the mayor, and about I don't know. I feel like, again, talk about a thread wrapped around a whole bunch of stuff. I know we're saying that these things are about COVID, but I have feelings that it's a lot deeper than just COVID. But even with that, I mean, I don't know I don't know what the solution is when it comes to how do we keep our teachers healthy? How do we keep our children healthy? But then we also ensure that everybody has real access to education, and not just sending home a Chromebook that they may or may not use. They may or
May or may not have Wi-Fi or
Wi-Fi.
internet access
Yeah,
or hmm yeah, I think that but if we notice that, so one former education secretary who came from the state of Michigan, who is connected to a very wealthy family that owns Amway and the Amway Center in
I
Orlando,
know you ain't talking
Massachusetts.
about her, so I'm just what she got to say because she didn't need to say
No, my
nothing.
point is, for years, the effort to defund, because they talked about defunding police, really defund, underfund, and undercut public education has been afoot.
Yeah,
But see, they wrapped it around this school choice.
choice.
We see that, like we said, in the city of New Orleans, there is no public school system anymore. It's all charter school system, and those charter schools are failing miserably. But they don't have the same level of accountability as a public school. They don't have the same level of accountability as being a part of a state system and having to report. But that was allowed to happen because, oh, well, this school is failing, so we need to take money from this school, and you need to have a choice to send your kids to another school. And people wanted, yeah, that's not, it sounds good to say choice, but now you've diverted my tax dollars away from the school that's in my neighborhood to fund these other schools or these charter schools. And now there is no public school. There is no public school system. There is no school board. There is none of that anymore. And the schools are what? They're failing even worse. Why? Ain't the same level of accountability.
I mean, there's a school board and there's various systems.
There is no Orleans Parish Public Schools.
Right. Well, I think some of them still are, but it's so, and listen, I'm not even gonna act like I know enough about it. It's
Mhm.
so fragmented. There are so many different charter school systems. There is something that there is an Orleans Parish School Board. I don't know what they govern. It is a very
It's a
fragmented.
hot ass mess. How
Sure.
about that?
Yes. And
And you were
so,
supposed to fix a problem, but you didn't fix. But it sounds good when people say, "I'm going to give you a choice." It sounds good to say, "Oh, you're going to have a choice in educating your children, and you have a choice in the curriculum." But like I said, you don't even go to open house or parent teacher conferences. You haven't read a book in the last 30 years. You don't know. You ain't took a chemistry class since you was in the ninth or 10th grade, but you gonna direct curriculum? Get the
well, I have a problem with that
don't make me cuss, girl.
because at the end of the day, again,
Yeah, here you go. Break it down like this. Break it down break it down. Come on, break it down.
I was gonna say I take issue with that because at the end of the day, look, I have a degree in engineering, in civil engineering. There was a time that I could do some highways and some ditches and some some water systems and things like that, sewer, wastewater. All and I can't do that no more. That ain't my area of expertise. And so, it reminds me of one of these commercials where somebody passes out and it's like, oh, is there a doctor in the house? And it's like, no, but I've watched a lot of television. I've watched a lot of doctor shows on television. This idea that, should you as a parent be involved and interested in the things that your children are learning? Yes. Yes, you should. You should be involved in what they're learning. You should understand it, but you're that is not your lane unless you are a curriculum designer. That is not your lane. And so we just got to be understand. I just feel like all of this could be summed up with if we just stayed in our lane and knew what our lane was and did the very best in our specific lane, then the other lanes would take care of themselves.
Mhm.
I think that would be great. But yeah, because I want to talk about
Yeah, I
Rosalind's
mean, Rosalind's put the statement up here about voter laws equal election integrity, and that's what we were going to actually talk about next. We were going to talk about voting rights,
yeah.
and that was one of the topics we're going to talk about, and we'll talk a little further about Dr. King specifically, but we wanted to talk about voting rights tonight because this past week, one senator for Arizona decided
Kirsten, however you want to say, Kirsten Cinema,
decided to say that no, she
who
cannot.
I've been tweeting at, but she don't want to get out of sis. But go ahead.
Girl, she ain't talking to none of her constituents because she don't want to hear nothing y'all had to say because y'all done put her there so she feels she can do whatever she wants to do now. Okay.
And she
Who
can, but she can also know that not all of us have short memories. And I recognize that perhaps she believes that the only people who got her elected were John McCain Republicans, but they are not. And so she can find out, but continue. Sorry.
Well, she got, talked about how she was not, we're not going to upend the Senate rules. We're not going to upend the filibuster so we can take up this legislation on voting rights. Like they said, even though just 2 weeks before she voted to bypass the filibuster rules in order to raise the debt ceiling. They pick and choose and select. She had this whole speech about bipartisanship, and I'm with Kamala Harris, as she said to Craig Melvin, listen, there are 50 Republican senators as well. Like the last time voting rights was authorized, they have several of them that are still in that Senate that voted to authorize that again. So what changed? Why aren't those 16 people voting? Why, it shouldn't even be on those two Democrats who that's all who the focus has been. Where you at, Susan Collins, since you wanted to give us Neil Gorsuch? Where you at, Lisa Murkowski? Where y'all at? Um, People who are also senators who happen to have an R next to your name. Y'all know this crap ain't right. Y'all know this is wrong. And why do you continue to stand wrong and be on the side of wrong and continue to be on the wrong side of history? Because you don't want to lose a job? Because you
Yes,
don't
that's exactly why.
because
I
because
mean,
clearly, because clearly you have no more marketable skills. I guess that's what it is at this point. No, but again, some of these folks should have been long gone out there. I mean, at the end of the day, what we really need is we need some term limits on this crap because we don't need people in there for a lifetime. Ain't nobody should be 80, almost 90 years old up in these offices and have been in there for 30, 40 years and plus.
well,
It's
I mean,
ridiculous.
it is. It is ridiculous. But I will say it like this. Ask yourself.
Facts.
Yes. We should, okay. Should we even be having a conversation about voting rights in the year of our Lord 2022 after we've already been through this? What is it, 1960 Voting Rights Act of 1965? Is that correct? Um,
64, 65. But here's the other thing. But remember, what happened was a few years ago, and I can't
the
remember what
Supreme
year it
Court,
was. Yeah, they gutted the Voting Rights Act and
right?
then allowed these states to
Because
start
the
crown.
states were no longer racist, and they no longer had racist people, or they were all united. We stand, divided we fall. We love each other. There was no partisanship. Everything was about, even though we see the gerrymandering of the districts, all of that. Here's the thing: this should not even be a topic of conversation. It is not only, you talk about those senators that have been there for a long time, but across the board, many of those people worked with the late John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, right? And they knew this man. They knew what he had been through on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, many years ago, but not that many years ago. They knew what he suffered through when on Bloody Sunday. This should not be a conversation that should even be had. Um, if we truly profess to live in the greatest country in the world, then if this is the greatest country in the world, we should not have there should be no conversation about if every citizen should have the right. Every citizen of voting age should have the right to vote. There should not be conversations about people coming out, the formerly incarcerated, having voting rights restored. I don't understand how people feel like they should hold something against somebody for the rest of their days,
Mhm.
something a crime that they committed and they've now paid for. You get to hold that over their head for the rest of their days, but simultaneously tell them that they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, they should go to work, they should be tax paying law abiding citizens moving forward, but you won't even restore their right to vote. These things are incongruent with the best country in the world as far as I'm concerned. They're
Mhm.
incongruent.
Mhm.
So we should not even be having this conversation. But since we are having this conversation, sadly, to your point, Kirsten Cinema has decided, as far as I'm concerned, she has already let us know where her loyalties lie.
Mhm.
Period, point blank. I don't think there needs to be another conversation with her or Joe Manchin.
Mhm.
They have decided that the constituents for whom they want to make certain are happy are the ones that don't look like me, don't look like you. They are not concerned about all of the people. Even if in Arizona African Americans are 5%, I think in West Virginia it's even less than that. And it's not just African Americans; it's the Native population, it's the Latinx population, it's all of that. Hell, to a degree, it's women because again, if folks have seen Kirsten Cinema, Miss I'm a staunch advocate of the LGBTQ plus community, you have forgotten that white women did not always have the right to vote either.
Mhm.
And so, again, this should not even be a conversation. But since it is, don't have another conference call, sit down, lunch and learn nothing with those two senators.
Mhm.
We got you. We're good. To your point, some of these folks who have an R behind their name, you have larger, let's call it diverse populations in your respective areas of the country. You might want to consider what your legacy is going to be. You might want to consider if you want to keep this cush job, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. If you and I were the type of women who were good at working for the rest of our lives for somebody else, working for somebody else, working in quotes for somebody else, that has to be one of the best jobs in the world. I mean, after you get through the election period,
All that insider information, so you gonna
insider
be a
information,
multi-millionaire when you leave because she sure went in that pole. Now she rolling in the dough.
she rolling in the dough. She was, she had a negative network before she started. Negative. So yeah, you making money. You got insider information. The woman in Georgia who the stocks, we can sell our stocks and stuff because we know what's about to go down when it's about to go down. You get good health care, not afforded to everybody, but we got good health care. I mean, it's a really cush job. And so at the end of the day, more of us need to run. And more of us. So are they, is anybody logically gonna say, let me vote for myself not to have a job? Absolutely not. They will never institute term limits on themselves. I'm not gonna vote myself out of a job, but we can.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to do. We need to find candidates and say, these are the people we want to represent us, and
Yes.
put them up and enforce the term limits. That's how you're gonna get a term limit, Kirsten. We're gonna put somebody else up against you. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah. I agree with that. Well, I say this, if we are a democracy or what we have a representative democracy, then and especially for federal elections. So I believe so each state has its own set of rules. Those should apply for their own state elections. But the federal elections should be the same all 50.
Absolutely. There should be standardization across the board. If it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I don't care what your time zone is, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If
Same time. It should be a federal holiday so
should be
that
a federal
everybody
holiday.
can off if they want to. If it's going to be 2 weeks of early voting or 3 weeks, whatever it is, it needs to be the same across the board. Some things need standardization.
Absolutely.
Period.
And
So
let
it
me
don't matter. And everybody when you get your driver's license should be registered to vote if you are
yes.
of age. Period.
And at this point, and I was just having this conversation the other day. I don't this whole voter ID situation. First of all, if you send me a card, now again, you send me a card because I registered to vote. So I have a voter ID card because I registered and you sent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is all I should need when I go up there and you scan the barcode. You scan the barcode, then you're gonna ask me to show you my driver's license. I
Mm-hmm.
show you my driver's license. However, guess what? When I got my driver's license, I lived one place. Now I live somewhere else. So, but should it matter if I got this voter, make it my responsibility to go on the voter registration site or the whatever it is, the
Secretary of State or your registrar.
registers. Yes, thank you. Make it my responsibility to go and update my information. But when I update that information, it's linked to this card with this barcode. Click the barcode. If the barcode say, this is her precinct, this is who she is, that should be enough. Ain't nobody still and then once I voted, it should go into a system where nobody else can use that same number. It
Right.
just shouldn't be. We got phones that we can unlock with a fingerprint or with our eyes. I'm just not understanding how we can't figure out how to have voter ID technology such that there's not this widespread fraud going on. Because at the end of the day,
And here the thing.
there ain't even that.
There ain't widespread fraud, but every time I see the fraud, it's people who live in the villages and here in Florida. Them old people. And they ain't voting for no Democrats.
Or it's people who like look. Rosalind brought out the mail-in ballots and stuff like that. You're going to make some states make the default mail the ballots, and then if you don't want that, if you want to vote on, listen, like you said, standardize it. Because again, if you send me this little book that tells me all the folks who are running, all the stuff that's on the ballot, and you sent it to this address, and I have it, and I have this card, that should be enough. I got the book, I got the card. That should be enough. I should not have to show you my driver's license. I definitely ain't about to show you nothing else. And, you know, it, again, let's use technology. Let it be our friend. Because clearly, all of this trying to figure out how the voting systems, how the computers work in order to hack them, that's just so not cool. But yet we look at other countries and turn our nose down at them because huh, they don't have good election processes. We don't either, and we should. At this point, we should.
200 and some change in, 200 years and some change in, we should, right?
Again, when we got people who still serving in some of these positions at 80 some years old, clearly they didn't wait from scantrons to like we
Tantrons, punch cards.
yeah we should have everybody got a cell phone at this point also. We can figure out some of these things because a lot of people don't have you know again their ID cards. A lot of people don't have, but A lot of Americans got cell phones. So I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I know we could try some different stuff and not
Absolutely.
the foolery that they are trying to suggest.
It's so much foolery, and we don't even have time to get into it all. Maybe we'll have to get one of our legislative friends back on so we can talk about this voting rights, the process, what's coming on, what's at stake for 2022 in the midterms. So stay tuned. We'll definitely have a guest.
And where
On
Kirsten at? Come on, hey sister
Come on,
Kirsten.
Kirsten, since you got something to say, girl. She ain't gonna come on here and talk to us, child. But I ain't gonna never say never, girl. Come on here and talk to us, since you won't be where the people at. Okay.
No, she won't
So
be where the money resides.
she
Yeah.
won't be where the money resides, child. We gonna see. All right. Um, it is the weekend. As we said, January 15th is the founding date of our beloved Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. It's also the day in which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born. Also, our uncle. Shout out Uncle Jerry. um, on January 15th. On tomorrow is when we observe the federal holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday celebration. And I know that this year his family really asked for us to lean in on voting rights. And no celebration. They've always asked for a day of service, a day on, not a day off. And I know we have observed that, but this year they're like, don't even go out there and do nothing in my daddy name. Don't do nothing in my daddy name until y'all do this voting rights, because those are the things that he was fighting for.
Right.
That's what he fought for. That is his number one legacy. And y'all have gutted it. You've overturned it. Don't be out here doing nothing in my daddy name. Stop quoting my daddy for y'all lies and taking a thread of what he said and then wrapping your lie around it and trying to serve it back up to me and then the people on the Twitters who try to have the audacity to tell Bernice, well, your daddy meant this. Girl, that was her daddy. That was her fault.
And because she is a woman of Christian, upstanding woman of faith, she don't say what I might say if somebody was trying to tell me what my daddy was trying to say.
Exactly. So, we talked about Dr. King. We talked about his life a little bit this morning when we had our Sunday school lesson. And, he says, the ark, yeah, that ark of justice, boy, it's long, but it bends towards, it bends towards, I can't remember the exact quote. I said it wrong. But anyway, we have an opportunity to be on the right side of history and everything. And if we're going to honor his words, if we're going to live up to the ideals that he really talked about, I challenge you to go do your own research about Dr. King, as I said earlier, some of this other stuff. Go actually read some of his speeches. Go actually study know that between the Montgomery bus boycott to his assassination was only 13 years. Understand that he was assassinated at 39. He wasn't 40, 50, he wasn't 50 years old. Really get intimate with the things that he was fighting for not just equality, but pay equity, for the eradication of poverty, I think about your documentary, for workers' rights. Think about those things. It's more than the content of your character, and it's more than a dream. Listen to his speeches, study his words, and see what he has to say.
Agreed. Yeah, for me, I started today and I'll post again on LinkedIn tomorrow. I really do want us to honor the man. I mentioned that here in the state of Arizona, there were, this is one of the last ones to acknowledge the national holiday. And even here, in so few years, it has become just another long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so problematic for me. Look, I get it. Right now, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. Well, it's still a global pandemic, but here in the United States, I think it's just an epidemic, and it's more than just a COVID. But so I understand us not being able to maybe physically get out to certain places. But to your point, there we have to take these moments to intimately acquaint ourselves with not just one speech, but multiple speeches. We need to intimately understand um, that when Dr. King was killed, it was at that point fighting for poor people and
Mm-hmm.
for economic justice. And so few people understand that. And that wasn't about black or white. That really was about, again, the soul of this country, the socioeconomic status, and how do we make people whole. And these same conversations we're having right now about living wages and you know what is a minimum wage, what should be a minimum wage, why people are not going back to work because they've chosen themselves over being put in harm's way, um, for very little pay where they can't even make ends meet. So at the end of the day, I hope we are examining the man. You said it very well there. At 39 years old, I don't know about y'all, but now I have surpassed the year when Dr. King was assassinated. I am older than 39 years old. And I, whatever I was doing, it wasn't as significant as what Dr. King was doing for all of us. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not enough to have these quotes here and there, and usually, like you said, wrapped around narratives of our own creation, not even just remixing what he was really trying to say, but really understanding that this man was murdered for fighting for for everyone, and everyone has benefited from, again, those the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. Everyone has benefited from that. So we need to honor him, like you said, like his family has said, by getting voting rights passed and not allowing a partisan Supreme Court, because that's another thing. The Supreme Court, it was never supposed to be partisan. The Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the laws of this country, not based on their political preferences. And so we cannot continue to allow this conversation about voting rights to come up every few years, and we certainly can't allow a partisan Supreme Court to gut it ever again. So we need to make this stuff permanent
Mm-hmm.
and do right by the citizens of these United States of America.
Amen to that, sister. Well, with that said, we're going to get ready to sign off. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight live with Hey Sister. We hope something that we said tonight sparked something in you and help you go out and live a better life. So if you're going to go on to I just know that y'all know I've been on the D Nice. I've been in club quarantine since the beginning. I've been in club quarantine since day one. A1 for day one. For
Mhm.
those of you who want to listen tonight, in honor of one Miss Aaliyah, her birthday celebration,
Mhm.
he's doing an Aaliyah and Sade inspired set this evening. So go on over there to IG and listen to y'all some D Nice and get into it. And make sure you tag Hey Sister, let us know what you listen to, and let all the folks know that they should be tuning in live to Hey Sister every Sunday. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.